Okay, so I'm secretly hoping that when I go back on, my stuff isn't a mess. I'm hoping. I've been told that it shouldn't, but previously I had lost a range of things when that happened. Hi, Althea. I hope you're good. Okay, so I've never someone laugh at my face, Tsebakazi. That hurts me so deeply. Okay, let's look at tonight's lecture. I think you've had enough of my face. I've had enough of my face. Let's stop that. Okay, and now I can put my gown back on because it's baie koud in Pietermaritzburg vanaand. Sorry, hold on. I have a jacket and a gown on because it's cold in Pietermaritzburg, and I had to take my gown off because I didn't want to appear on camera in a gown. But now you can imagine me, t-shirt, buffer jacket, and a gown. Okay, guys, let's do this. Oh my gosh, I've got 4 pages. Goeie genigtig. Very cold, thanks. It is ice cold. And yeah, my bunny is, I'm hoping, not being full of nonsense. My wife and son are trying to bring him in. And normally if I go, he'll come to me, but he doesn't like anyone else but me. Yeah, the wind at some point today was absolutely crazy. How's it, Carmel? Sorry, Tariq, how are you? Right, let's do this. So this is task one. There are multiple approaches to this. I put this together and I have a sneaky suspicion, and this will be shared obviously on ARC if things haven't gone awry. I've done another workbook. So those of you that have seen the other workbook and use the other workbook for STML, you'll see that I try as much as possible here to to give an indication of what goes where. Okay, so I think the reality is part of this is to give you an idea of what goes into each of these, and you can see in terms of each of the sort of headings that there are. Clear roadmap. The roadmap normally is at the end, and it's interesting that I must admit I haven't taught that yet because I thought it's obvious. But a roadmap is right before you move on to the second part, the theoretical framework. You will put in your roadmap. In this document, I intend to address the following aspects related to research. That is your roadmap at the end. So what is in there will be all of those elements. So very clear what the intention is. And please, guys, do yourself a favor. You can do a tick box exercise. Part of the introduction and the context, and it's worth taking note on this, and I know people will watch this recording again, but part of the context is when you've done your introduction, etc., give me numbers, stats, and facts. Those numbers, stats, and facts essentially will give us the idea of what the reality is right now within the context of whatever industry, whatever aspect you are researching. So numbers, stats, and facts are essential to attend to. Right, and then the literature, and this is the one thing often in this module that people struggle with, is the idea of doing your literature review, but summarizing those literature review bits. And summarizing is not the ideal word, but having themes and labeling the themes that relate to the the main aspects of the existing literature that you've encountered. Those themes need to be labeled. And I'll give examples of this, and it will be loaded on ARC. I guarantee, I promise that. Guys, and then it is your argumentation. And your argumentation is the opposite of doing a summary. So the key thing here is that you will, in your literature review, spend a lot of time looking at what existing scholarship there is in terms of your research. The key thing then is once you've done that, is to construct arguments under your different themes. Now, for me, it is to find sources where the Somebody's unmuted, guys. Somebody's unmuted. Let me try and find who that is. So what you'll do is you'll summarize is initially the individual sources, and then you'll use those summaries from those individual sources that you've looked at and build an argument. And you construct an argument by synthesizing your thoughts into some sort of coherent discussion on a specific aspect of your research. So for me, it often will start with where you have sources that are in agreement with each other, and authors and researchers that are in agreement with each other, but also not ignoring where people have contradicted those elements. So you constantly synthesizing and building an argument. I will show what those look like in a bit, guys, and then we'll spend a little bit of time. So this is not a heading. This is part of your reporting your literature. And then your research paradigm, yeah, you are either going to do, you will either do interpretivism or you'll do positivism. Be very careful. What AI often will do, the AI default is to take you to critical realism. There is no way that we're going to allow you to adopt a critical realist approach, because you have to do both quantitative and qualitative research. And we have, I think, about 11 weeks to do all of this stuff in. So stay away from AI suggesting critical realism. That's where you have both quantitative and qualitative. Make sure that you stay with interpretivism, which is always going to be qualitative, and positivism, which will always be quantitative. And then, yeah, please remember, I want you to use AI, but I don't want you to go into AI and ask AI to generate the assignment for you. So the things that we look for when we examine this, please note those are the elements that essentially will take you from your 70s to your 80s and higher. And then just in terms of your case, I think the first one is what I've done is I've taken this as the overall sort of idea or theme of this workbook, and we'll use that particular case, that theme, as part of our discussion. Okay, and you can see how that idea and the title would look a bit different, but we'll leave that as the title now, will translate into elements here. So it gives you, and you'll hear me use this term multiple times, the idea of a golden thread. This golden thread means everything is logically linked to everything else. Okay, and then just again giving you ideas of taking you through this, and you can see the specifics that you would have. So here is your introduction, and then I've given this layout. So those of you that have used the other workbook for STML, this is a little bit different in the sense that in addition to those guidelines, I give you an idea of, if we were to use that AI that AI topic, this is what that potentially would look like. Obviously, I've not had references put in, but you would put references in. And okay, and then also just constantly allowing you tick boxes, and here's your literature, and so forth. Please do me a favor. I've got a sneaky feeling I didn't load the right document in this mess that happened today, but this document will be on ARC tomorrow around 10 o'clock. I've got a bit of marking to do tomorrow, but I'll get this up on ARC, and you'll see the rest of it. I'm going to come back to each of those elements, guys, and you can see constantly ideas and suggestions and guidance, etc. And here, even if you want to keep a sort of manual record of the references that you're going to use. And then your sources. Yeah, how do we go from sources to themes? I think the theme would be the overall combination of those bits and pieces that you've collected in your research of existing scholarship that become part of your specifics around your themes for your research. So you can see here, it's suggested these are potential themes that might relate to that. Please don't force your themes. The themes have to emerge from your research. And I can tell you now, if you've read 10 or 15 summaries that you've created of existing literature and you start combining those, you'll see themes emerge from that. Don't force your themes, let the themes emerge. And then just, yeah, so this is how what I consider, my apologies, to be a synthesized paragraph. There's the summary thing, and if you ever see me on your document write, this is a summary, not a synthesis, this is what you've done. So there is an idea of what that summary only paragraph is. This is where you start constructing your argument. Please work through this, guys. I spent a hell of a lot of time getting this workbook to look like this, okay? And you can see the kind of languages to use in order to create movement between the different authors, in order to connect the authors, in order to contrast their arguments, etc. And you can see the kinds of words to use here. Is that the right one? Oh, thank goodness for that. I keep saying thank the Pope, but my son's girlfriend's name is Pope, and it's starting to get a bit tired. Thank goodness for that. Okay. Hopefully my son doesn't date somebody with the surname Goodness one day. It's not a detailed summary. The key thing between a synthesized paragraph and a detailed summary is a detailed summary. You've not looked at contrasting, comparing, and using different sources to complement each other. Because a detailed summary can never be an argument. You build an argument by bringing in different sources, by comparing where there is agreement, by looking at deficiencies, by contrasting. It essentially is that bringing together the logically the elements that are there, but constantly constructing an argument. And you'll see when you read here, Valencia, this is a wonderful example of a synthesized paragraph. You'll see that literally to me is almost a detailed summary there. What that does, it then builds that into a coherent argument. Okay. But that is a good question. So it's a lot more than a detailed summary. Okay. And then, yeah, you'll see. I mean, I've become incredibly pedantic with these books, but there's a lot of point and shoot things here. You know, here are the connecting words that you have, and when you see this building an argument, those are wonderful words. However, also words when there's contrast, and then you also can say why this is relevant, not relevant in terms of qualification, etc. So those are important elements as well. And then you can see the rest here, guys. Okay. I've gone overboard a little bit, but you'll see there's a lot of point and shoot stuff here. Okay. Right. And then your theoretical framework, we'll discuss this as well. You'll see in terms of our case or our research that we're doing this as the sort of connecting research for all these elements. You'll see they use the organizational justice theory. I will discuss the theoretical framework. I've already given theoretical frameworks for some people. So you can see how to look at the theoretical framework. Here is a better example of bringing together the elements within the theoretical framework. Okay. And then I will do more things. Okay, your research paradigms. This is a very, very, very nice table. Please have a glance at this. You're not looking at that. You're not looking at that. We're looking at interpretivism, and we are looking. Oh gosh, it's put in post-positivism. I missed that. Okay, I missed that. It's positivism and post-positivism. No, okay, guys, my apologies. I've messed that up. I need to update that. It's interpretivism and positivism, but that will be correct in my slides. And then you'll see what ontology, all these type meanings are, and so forth, and so forth. So I thought this was perfect. It's not perfect. Right, so there's a lot here. There is a lot here. And then, so for tonight, to look at tonight, to the first submission. Right, so this is task one. I want to start with this because one of the things that you will hear me say multiple times during this process is the idea of, of the golden thread. And the golden thread suggests that everything links logically to everything else. Now, if we look at this here, when we have quantitative search, and I'm just doing it in reverse, this would belong to the positivist paradigm. So this side of things would belong to the positivist side, and this would belong to the interpretivist side. Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys, somebody is not muted here. Let me take a moment to mute everyone. Okay, so that would be the positivist side. This would be the interpretivist side. Right, let's go through the different elements. When I say golden thread means that everything links logically to everything else. Everything aligns logically with everything else. So in terms of the golden thread, we know that qualitative research is about perceptions, it is about opinions, it's about fears, it's about concerns. It is giving us an idea about lived experiences. So when we think of a qualitative approach, this is where we look at people's opinions, concerns, impressions, perceptions of people, things, and events. It really is the idea that we want to understand how you've experienced this particular issue. From a quantitative perspective, we are concerned about science. We want to look at the idea of the research being separate from the researcher, being separate from things that can be open to interpretation. These are things we can test. These are hypotheses that we test. So a way to look at this differently. So if we look at a car accident, now imagine you've seen a car accident happen. Now the reality is 10 people can stand on the pavement and see this car accident happen. But if you interview each of those 10 people, you will find different perceptions, impressions, views, understandings of the same event, because it is something that is personal and we understand it from that person's perspective. So when we take qualitative research around that particular accident, we interview people, for example. The quantitative side would be the accident investigator arriving and measuring the skid marks on the tar, calculating what speed this person was traveling at, calculating whether the robot was red, etc. Those are important things in terms of both elements of the accident investigation. So the key thing here is that this is about measurable things. It's about numbers and stats. Here, it is about lived experiences. It is about our perceptions of certain things. In terms of the quantitative element, you'll see that here we normally will use surveys, and you will use questionnaires and surveys. You're not going to do experiments on things, so you'll use surveys to actually do this side of the research. Those surveys and questionnaires would be summarized into stats, etc. Here we would interview people. I think the standard for here is 10 people, that you have to have 10 people complete questionnaires. Here you have to interview 3 people. Now, please don't think one is easier than the other. I think some of my students find this very easy, but those people that don't like stats and numbers and math, etc., I suggest you would stay away from that side. Here, this is more about those perceptions. Interview 3 people. You can see here, we look at the whole experience. Here, we look at variables. So the variables would be the speed that the person was traveling at and the reaction time before this person actually hit the oncoming vehicle. So those are those elements that are far more quantifiable. Here we care about words, images, and objects. Here we care about numbers and stats. And you can see that we use open-ended questions. Here we use specific data collection instruments. In our case, they will be questionnaires. And you can see when we do our data analysis, we look at patterns and themes, and we'll spend a lot of time on getting people to understand this. And then here it's about stats and numbers, as I'd said. Here, there will be subjectivity, although as the researcher, we'll tell people about our subjectivity, because often when we do qualitative research, we select topics because they are close to our heart. They are close to issues that we are encountering. Here, we are looking specifically at being objective, that the researcher is separate from what the data presents. Guys, and you'll see all of this runs through. The one thing I want to say in this golden thread, so for example, when we select our interviewees, we refer to them as research participants. Here we talk about respondents, because everything has to logically make sense in relation to everything else. So this specific page, what I would do is I would print this out and stick it somewhere where it's above wherever I'm going to work on my study, because this is a wonderful way of reminding you of that golden thread. And that's why I include this particular slide. Right, so let's look at the introduction. What I'm going to do, and I hate it when I do this, but I'm going to quickly find previous submissions from students that I've kept. I will share all of these, guys. I definitely will share all of these. And yeah, what I've done is I've got permission from every single person on here to share their bits and pieces. Okay, so this is not poppy issue. I have got permission for all of these. I'm trying to think, which one do I want to share? Let me see if it's this one. That's, yeah. So you can see here, you'll see as we move forward, we'll start doing this kind of thing where we actually give our titles a bit of punch. At this point, keep your title very simple. This is what you'll discuss, obviously, with your pod leader. This is the final document. You can select from these bits here where what applies. So you can see in terms of her research topic and background, yours will be the context. It doesn't really matter. It all says the same thing. What she's done here is she's had this opening paragraph that essentially is that sort of moment that attracts attention. And then she takes us into her discussion. And here she then tells us about her discussion. So I'll share all of these documents with you because I think they become fairly important. in terms of your introduction, it sets the tone. It's that first impressions type thing. Did she say, no, that's the wrong way around? That's absolute rubbish. For quantitative, it would be perhaps 30 then. And for qualitative, it would be 3. It would be the other way around. Did she say 30 for quantitative? Okay. I thought it was 10, but I will verify that, guys. I thought it was 10 quantitative and yeah, 3 qualitative. You've got it the wrong way around, Nonpumelelo. Okay. No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If it's 30, then that's fine. That looks excessive for me, but I will verify that. Okay. So, in terms of the introduction, I think it's about grabbing the person's interest, but it also starts telling us what has brought us to this bit of research. And I think here it is when it's okay to use examples from newspapers and headlines from newspapers and discussions from newspapers that essentially will create this context, will give us the reality of the research. I think the key thing is please don't just use newspapers. You can start bringing in additional peer-reviewed stuff. No, it doesn't bring the themes into play. What it does, Valencia, it starts telling us about the overall topic. Those individual themes will come to the fore when we do our literature review. So this gives us the broader idea of what this research topic is about. It gives us the extra bit of padding to make sense of your research title. Okay. So here you'll start talking about what is happening in the real world right now that has brought us to this point that this research needed to be done. And oh yeah, and please remember you are writing for a specific audience. So generally you would write if there are bits of industry jargon that are used, those things can come in. But remember, you don't always write for that audience. Other people may read it. So you might want to explain that a little bit in terms of bringing in jargon if you need to. Okay, so here is bits of extra stuff around the background. I think the key thing for me there is that in addition to introduce the bits of research that we're doing, we are bringing in evidence. Now, that evidence, as I said, can be from examples from newspapers, can be from existing research that is out there, but this is not your literature review yet. This tells us broadly about the topic. And I think part of the background, if you succeed at this, you will find that your reader is convinced of the necessity for the study once they've read the background. So that is the background. Okay. So if we go go for it, Valencia.
Evening, Dr. Henny. So for the
Hi.
background, so I know it's the background is the context, right? So I just wanted to understand when we're doing the context, we bring it to like, do we bring it to like a past context and then see how it's relevant to today, or do we keep it in the present context? I just wanted to have an understanding.
So if if you're going to use some of the past, um, I think it's almost to show how long this research has been required. We've known for multiple years, or there are references around the concerns, and let's say something as silly as load shedding. We already knew that in 2008 we needed X amount of power stations delivering X amount of kilowatt to avoid load shedding. There was a report in 2000 warning people that we're going to run short of electricity. However, despite the forewarning, we still have load shedding. So if you want to bring us back and show us how long an issue has been potentially of concern, and now this is our load shedding. These are the number of hours, this is what happens, etc., etc. Okay, and this is what has to be done at a massive cost to avoid load shedding. Those things would be the current, but we've known for a long time that this was going to be an issue. Okay. If you we talk about paradigms? I know I lectured a couple of things last night. I might be referring to the wrong one here, but in about 2008, there was a paradigm change around health and aging. Prior to that, aging was seen as a thing to slow down. From about 2008, people started thinking of aging as a disease to be cured. Now, if you're going to do research around that, you can say prior to 2008, these were the realities, etc. So it depends on your approach to this. The thing that makes it very difficult for me is that I think you are all going to have a very unique title and a very unique topic, and therefore a very unique context. So whether you use history, but you have to bring us to the present, because the present starts informing the reader that this is the reason this research has to be done. This is the broader context within which this research will be done. I don't know if I'm answering that question very well.
No, you got it. Thank you, Dr. Henny.
Okay. Right. So just to go here and yeah, my workbook. And you'll see here, guys, there is I tried to okay, so there's the title, and we'll see in terms of the first bit in the introduction. What I've tried to do is I've tried to almost procedurize doing this. Okay, so the context. So it tells us within broader society, within broader scholarship, within existing literature, what the reality is. Okay, but also changes that are occurring, changes that are happening. And I think the key thing is to bring us from our broad topic and bringing us to within the broad area of load shedding. The issue is people who own restaurants are particularly affected by load shedding. Go for it, Non-Pumelelo.
I'm sorry, Dr. Yini. I just wanted to
No
ask
problem.
if we start introducing sources at this point, so I understand we may have to maintain the sources we mentioned here, but we can continue to add sources we go along in the
Oh
project.
yeah. So this is your introduction. You will have significantly more sources in your literature review.
Okay.
Significantly more. Okay. Way more. Okay. Right. And you can see that you're starting to infer here this why this is a concern. Why do we have to start looking at it? What are we trying to potentially avoid? And then you can say, this is what we hope to achieve here. And then just the roadmap. In this submission, I will be attending to the following elements. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You will reuse your sources, in particular in your literature review. And you don't want to throw too much of your literature review in here. It's just to introduce the topic, it's just to give us a reason why we're doing this research. Okay. Right. And just a little bit reminder, have a clear end in sight, guys, and I will share documents for you. That was, in fact, the intention today, to download some of the better submissions from last year, but obviously with ARC, it became a mess today. I will make sure that I give you very good examples. Okay, but you can see the idea is we're starting to introduce the topic. We're trying to give the context, but you don't want to give too narrow definitions. It's still a broader idea of this research and the concerns that have brought us to this particular point. Okay. So I think here you'll see there is an idea of how to write it. And again, guys, this is a suggestion. Yours will look very different to this, but it just starts to give a broad idea of what is here. And please spend a bit of time reading that. Okay. Right. So that is your research roadmap, etc. And I've given you those bits there. So for the literature review, And I'm just going to use this document that I had open here. Right, so we're going to jump slightly ahead. Now, remember, there will be additional headings in here, but those headings will be plugged in as we get to this final document. So insofar as the literature review is concerned, I quite like, no, no, no. Honestly, Bianca, everyone here is busy having a silent heart attack. I did tell you this for the first 2 weeks. You will convince yourself you are the dumbest person in the world. This is just what it is. I went through it when I did my honors. Did it when I did my masters. I went into panic when I did my PhD, guys. So this is just the reality. Please remember these words. There will be a moment in our little research journey where I will remind you of this point in time where you were absolutely panic struck over what is ahead. Okay. No one is alone. Everyone believes that, and this too shall pass. But there will be a point in our little research journey that is very short here. And I will say to you, remember when. And for some people, that aha moment will happen earlier. For others, they'll panic throughout. And then you'll have these in between bits of panic. You'll panic when you go and put together your questionnaires on Google Forms. You'll panic when you do your first interview. You'll panic when you're told to do your data analysis. That's the reality, guys. That is your reality. And remember, you've got each other. That's the key thing. You are on a WhatsApp group together, and yeah, well, I think everyone for the first 2 weeks feels that like as if they've been hit by a car, and that will change. I promise you that will change. Okay. So the way I want, and I just want to open here as well. Today has been a mess with this. I just want to open this. So this is our first submission, part one. Okay. So in terms of our first submission, to just show you guys that the layout has a specific way of doing it. Don't worry about that. That will happen when we get there. Yeah, that's your bits and pieces. Hold on. All right, so there's your introduction. Please note there as well what is included in the rubric. You'll see here, guys, that it has, first of all, the theoretical framework, then it has the reporting of the literature. Now, this is just how well you create argumentation, and then your paradigm. I quite like the idea of this layout. I prefer my layout to be like this. So the overall literature review. The one thing when you do your literature review, guys, is, and any of these, please make sure, the one annoyance that we have as markers is where we have headings on headings. So if you do this layout, a literature review does the following, and then we look at our theoretical framework, explain what a theoretical framework is here, explain what a literature review is. I would have added here, the following elements are included in this literature review: the theoretical framework, a review of the literature, and at this point we're not doing conceptualization yet. But remember, we're still early days here. I've had students who have got 91%. The highest ever is 91%, guys. That is in the days where we had a very different approach. I had an 88 last year. They're big marks here, guys. Remember, you're not alone here. Remember, and it's not just us. Tracy's involved as well. So yeah, I had a 91. One of my colleagues now, who who after she did this with me went and did her master's. She had a 90. So we've had big marks. And I had a good few high 80s last year. I mean, the potential is, and can I be honest with you? If you fail this, the only person to blame is you, because we don't get fails in this, guys. We don't get fails because there's so much support that's given. Okay. Trust me. Well, yeah, the number of times I get into trouble for saying things. Now I'm going to get reported for, and he's putting pressure on us, unnecessary pressure. I need that. Oh, I need that as well. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll be in trouble for something as well. Go, Valencia.
Sorry, Dr. Henny, I'm just a little bit confused. Please, can you just review again in terms of like you said the one thing markers get upset about? Are you saying it's multiple headings or like there's not enough information? I'm
No,
just a bit confused.
headings on headings. So imagine that's not there. We have that heading on that heading on that heading. And it's not every marker, but it irritates me, guys. It annoys the heebie-jeebies out of me. For me, you don't want headings on headings. So if you were to use this layout of the literature review and then the theoretical framework, please give us something in between. Give us those transition sentences. That's the thing. And then what is the theoretical framework? And here, and you'll see this is not got headings on headings, okay? Now, she used two theories and then your review of your literature as well. I hope that makes sense. And she'll introduce again the idea of what literature review is. Insofar as the literature review is concerned, and Tracy, I know, is doing something later. What time is Tracy's lecture later?
I think she's doing a masterclass tomorrow evening at
On
6:30 for Let's
oh,
yeah.
okay, no, that's fantastic. That's tomorrow. Yeah, I did see something. Okay, guys, so you'll see here is an example of what a label is to a theme. Okay, so you'll see that this person, and it's not perfect, nothing is perfect, but she's built an argument using different authors. You'll see here she's got a number of authors who have agreed, and then she does the contrast and the argumentation. And I will find really good examples of this, but you can see she uses all these authors, synthesize them together to start building an argument. So her first label there, once she's done this, the theme that emerged from her label is employee engagement. So please don't try and anticipate those themes. Let those these documents have been around for a while. So insofar as references are concerned, generally you don't want to go more than 5 or 6 years. But remember, you also have what we refer to as seminal works or significant findings that changed a particular set of thoughts on a particular title. So this one is a couple of years ago. I don't know when this person finished this with me. It is a few years ago. Um, okay. So yes, you want modern sources, but there are moments, guys, where we have to pay attention. 23, so it's not that long ago, where we have to pay attention to previous ideas and seminal sources and studies that changed thought processes. You use Harvard Anglia. Yes, Bianca, you use Harvard Anglia. Insofar as the template is concerned, I did share that today on the group. I thought I did share that on the group. It's not the best template in the world, so my apologies. Where are the submissions here? Student submissions. Oh, my. Right, let's try that again. Slides, submissions, task one. I did share this earlier. So, guys, I really am irritating here. It's Harvard Anglia, Stace. It's always Harvard Anglia. So it's unlikely that you're going to find. Please use the tarot. Please use the tarot, Kinsani. Please use the tarot. Okay. Please don't try and manually remember all these references. So this one from 23, just to show you here, just to show you her reference list. Okay. Page one, page noch, page another, page another. Now imagine trying to manually keep track of that. How many pages was that? 6.5, 7.5? Oh gosh, then it's Harvard, okay. Task one, Sune, let's just see if they tell us. Shucks, yeah, hold on. Do they tell us in here what the word count for this is? Yeah, they do. 150 to 200. There are the bits and pieces there. I'm not going to add those together. Okay. Oh gosh, they've changed it to 11 Calibri font. Okay. Then I've got this wrong, guys. The one I shared with you then is Dodge. Because this is good old. I know. Cake there. Who says I'm not organized? It is Calibri. So here is the pro forma one. So you'll see here, literature review, introduce what a literature review does, no headings on headings, the way it is there, your theoretical framework. One way of thinking of doing the theory is to describe the theory in its original format, provide updated views on the theory, and then tell us why it's relevant. I like that kind of approach to it. Again, very procedurized. My thinking is always procedurized, but I get told that I'm too narrow, so I give a variety of procedures. This is my preferred approach. Discuss the theory in its original format, give us updated views on the theory, and then tell me why this theory is relevant to your research. Please make sure that you at least have those elements in your theoretical framework. Then your Sani, wonderful. Thank you so much, Stacey. There's a message for you. No, do Harvard Anglia. That's been answered, Stacey. Just go to the message previous to this one. Okay. Stay with Harvard Anglia. There's a way of doing it. Okay. Yeah, Stacey, go for it.
Good evening, sir. I just want to say,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm
Um,
good.
I just want to say that last semester I did all of this. I tried everything. I tried to put the IIE Harvard Anglia document into Zotero. I tried everything and it just wouldn't work.
Kinsani, can you help Stacey, please? Can you guys connect and help each other?
Hey Stacy,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good in you.
Good. Is it okay if we talk after class?
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Well done, Kinsani. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 25% extra. Okay, cheers, ladies. Okay, I'll just put your hand down, please. I'll do your hand down, Stacey, not to worry. Okay, so yeah, theory in its original format, updated views, and why it's relevant. You'll see in the manual it's done differently because people tell me I'm too procedurized here. Reporting of literature, remember to label your themes. It is a synthesis of existing scholarship. In terms of dates, don't go too much past 2020 or 2021. I think they say 5 years, but 2020 is fine. But remember, there are seminal authors, there are seminal works as well. Okay. In terms of the paradigm, and I didn't get to this tonight, so my apologies, but I will make lectures available on the paradigm, okay, on Teams, not on Teams, on YouTube, okay. There will be a lecture showing you a bit about paradigms. So what is the paradigm? So I say define what a paradigm is and then tell us why it's there and then describe your paradigm. Very procedurized. I'm a complete pain when it comes to this stuff, but I have 10 weeks or 11 weeks to get you guys through this along with the pod leaders. Yeah, I think we're running out of time. Any questions at this point, guys? Everything will make an appearance tomorrow on ARC during the day. I've got marking in the morning and then I will do all of this. Yes, it'll be loaded on ARC tomorrow, Matsadisi. Okay. Anything else, guys? Anything from your side? Because I feel like I'm rushing and I'm irritating myself. It's crazy, Cameron.